much. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I always think, when I listen to him doing this, I always think to myself, you know, it could be the other way around here very easily. You know, I could be introducing him, but it made me feel very proud to do so because you have certainly, all of you in Iowa and the folks that were lucky enough to be in the race when he was running and participating, you had a great candidate there, and I think probably might be one again one of these days. At least I hope so. And that would be great. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much again. I sincerely appreciate the fact that you would come out here on kind of well, it's actually beautiful and nice. So I just, having come from Washington, it's almost hard to say that. You know, you can't get it out. It's beautiful. Lousy. But the weather here is very pleasant, and it was just the getting here that was a little more difficult. But I'd like to know something before I go any farther. How many of you in here actually did anything at all with regard to that Senate bill that just got killed? Did you call? Did you write? Yeah. Well, let me do this for you. Okay? Thank you. You know, the fact is, there are two great things happened. Two great things. One is that the bill went down. That's great. The other thing is that it reaffirmed the fact that America still works in this regard. I mean, the people's voice is still heard. And honestly, there's a lot of concern about that, and that there's a lot of frustration in the country. I'm well aware of it. 14%, the Congress has a 14% approval rating right now. President about 20-something. This is quite worrisome, not just for incumbents, by the way. I think it's worrisome generally. This is not a healthy thing. I think there's actually a danger to when it gets like this, when there's so much distrust, there's so much concern about and so much of a disconnect between the people and the government that they put in office. This is very, it's worrisome in many respects, and I do have some concerns about it because I want people to feel that in fact, somebody does care. But in years, of course, over and over and over again, you hear from people who come before you and they say to you, look, as Bill says, taxes are too high. You vote for me and I guarantee you we will not grow government, right? And we will not increase taxes. And you hear this over and over again, and you send people to Washington, and somehow, some strange way, government grows, either deficits increase or taxes, one or the other, and you wonder, what has happened? What's the disconnect? What happened here? We sent these people, they said they would do one thing, and something else, of course, occurred. And this happens often enough. And when I look at the presidential race, it seems to me that a lot of folks that are asking you for your vote are also people who have made some other kinds of decisions in their life. And that is this. And this is not unique to the presidential race. This happens, unfortunately, with just about every level of government, every single office you can think of. People decide and they say, you know, what do I want to be? And you just fill in the blank. I want to be a city councilman or state representative or U.S. senator or president of the United States. The decision to be that person, to take that job or whatever, that's what's made first. Then and only then does that person start thinking about all the things they have to do and say and be in order to get it. The decision is based on the office. And so you were pro-life a little bit ago, but now you're not, or vice versa. You were not so crazy about having guns in your, but now guns are fine. Immigration, you know, you were pretty much of an open borders guy before, but now all of a sudden you're not. I mentioned, I think it was on one of the debates, and you know, I was talking about the fact that all the people, I was listening to what they were saying to all these questions, and of course a lot of them I know where they were. I mean, these positions that they had taken were not secret in the past. Senator McCain, Mayor Giuliani, Senator Brownback, I mean, I knew where they were. They had talked about it, especially their positions on immigration. I mean, they were certainly not on our side of the issue. But by that night, by the night of the debate, everybody had sort of turned into, let's control these borders. You know, I want to do something about stop illegal immigration. And you're thinking to yourself, what has happened here? What has happened? Well, what has happened is that, of course, we were in the middle of a Republican primary. And so what you're supposed to do is you run to the right, you know, when you're in a Republican primary. You run to the left when you're in a Democratic primary. Then as you get elected and as you move closer to the election itself, you move to the middle. And everybody wonders, gee, what happened? You know, I don't know. I remember they said this when they were running for that. You know, and so that's. And I mentioned that I know that people were converting, and it was great because conversions are usually a good thing, right? It makes a real committed individual when you convert, when you really convert to whatever thing. And I'm for conversions. I was just saying that I am worried about conversions that happen not on the road to Damascus, but on the road to Des Moines. That is what's a little bit, yeah, you need to think. I'm not so sure. I'm positive, you know. But they are happening, and I do not know. Frankly, I do not know if they're for real or not. How can we know? If somebody was there yesterday, today they're here, tomorrow they may be on some other issue. The one thing I can guarantee you, the one thing I can assure you, is that on policy issues, on the issues of life, all the rest of the things that we kind of lump together as the conservative issues, I have a fairly long record. It certainly goes back to when I was in the state legislature in Colorado almost 30 years ago. And it's pretty consistent. I am who I say I am. The person that is speaking here now in front of you is the person I was, 5 years ago, and will be if I'm President of the United States. And one of the things I hope to accomplish in this task is to reaffirm people's faith that this can happen, that you can actually vote for someone who does follow through on what they say. They will do. And I can assure you of that. I mean, I can't assure you of many other things. I can't guarantee that I can change the world and that I will be able to create a health care system that will always take care of you, or the perfect education system, because frankly, I've got to tell you, even though it's one of the things that comes up almost every time I speak, somebody says to me, what do you think about health care? What are you going to do about health care? And I got to tell you something. Although there are things the federal government can do, increasing health savings accounts, for instance, and allowing people to purchase insurance from companies regardless of where they happen to be in the country, and allowing associations to form their own groups and offer insurance, all those things are fine. And I would be happy to get the government out of the way and allow people to do those things. But if you're asking me to create some sort of health care plan for you so that you will be, that I can guarantee you some sort of bubble that you can exist in, that the government will create for you, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I can't do it. One of the things that is befuddling is that you find people always saying things like, I want less government, but on the other hand, oftentimes demanding more. And you can't have it both ways. The government's either going to get bigger to guarantee you whatever it is that you want, safety, health, all the rest of that stuff, or it's going to stay somewhat confined. I mean, wasn't it George Washington talked about it being, like fire. Government is like fire. It can be a great thing, but out of control, it can be a very dangerous thing. And that's the one thing we have to be careful of, is keeping government in control, because it has this natural tendency to expand. It's just a system. It's like your own. You feed it and it keeps growing. You remember that in the Little Shop of Horrors? Does anyone remember that movie? Yes. And there was this plant that you had, Audrey, or was it Audrey the lady? I don't know. It was the plant. Anyway, at the plant, and you had to feed it blood in order for it to grow. And pretty soon it would go, feed me. I need more. And it got bigger and bigger. And then it would grant wishes. Well, that's kind of, honestly, I thought about it before, it's really a metaphor for government. It does want this constantly, feed me, feed me. Well, what's being fed? And what's the actual food? It's tax money, and it grows bigger all the time. And you have to be careful about government. And there is something, although we have a hard time, it seems like, trying to figure out in the Congress of the United States, and state legislatures and everywhere else, but especially in the Congress, we have a very difficult time trying to figure out what it is we're supposed to do. And yet it shouldn't be that difficult at all, should it? I mean, there is this thing, it's called the Constitution. It's this document, it's there, and it pretty much says what you do as a federal government. What is your responsibility?